Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to theCUBE's live coverage of VMware Explore here at the Venetian in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Rebecca Knight, alongside top analyst, Paul Nashawaty. Thank you so much for coming on.
Great to be here.
So we're talking product marketing.
We are talking product marketing, we're talking VCF 9.0. Rick is here to join us.
Exactly.
So awesome, lots of excitement at the show.
Indeed, well let me introduce Rick. I'd like to bring on Rick Walsworth, Director of Product Marketing at VMware. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Rick.
Really appreciate it.
So VMware has been through a lot of transformation recently, and that's a vast understatement, really. So many new product announcements this week. Tell our viewers a little bit about what are the biggest takeaways right now?
To me, out of the gate, it's the ability to be able to run AI natively within VCF, right? We've heard from our customers, they want to move to AI, they want to do so, but why should it be an additional service? Why should I have to pay extra to be able to do it? So by bringing it in as core to the platform, we've done two things. We've already taken advantage of the integration that we've done, deep integration there, but now we're also turning it into a service. So now you can literally have private AI as a service to be able to deploy at scale.
So let's talk about private AI, right? I mean, so this is a big kind of initiative. It's kind of a big theme that we're seeing at the show. I know it's something that's been talked about for a while. What is happening with VCF 9 and private AI, and what does it really mean for enterprises?
Right. Well, what we did within VCF 9 is deliver the ability to be able to enable private AI to be deployed at scale. That includes the ability to be able to monitor all of the underlying infrastructure. So I can look at my GPUs, I can tell health on it, I know when they're starting to run a little hot, and then the ability to be able to leverage some of our core tools that the VMware users have used for years on that. DRS, vMotion, I can use those now for VM-based workloads running GPUs. So I could switch a GPU from essentially one host to another non-disruptively.
And were you hearing that from customers in terms of that being a major pain point, in terms of why you're going in this direction?
The question we asked is, what will it take to have you adopt these platforms and these services on top of the platform? And that was one of the pieces of feedback that came. Make it part of the platform. Just like storage and compute and network is, AI should be part of the platform as well.
Yeah, so there's kind of this thing happening, like this evolution. Modernization is a treadmill, it happens all the time, right? There's activities that are continuous. How do you bridge the gap between heritage environments and what's new in VCF 9? Because that's a big thing right now, right? People want to get to this new motion, but they also don't want to silo themselves into a new kind of silo, right?
Well, and it's really a big benefit of what VCF does, right? Because within a VCF architecture, I have a management domain, but then I have workload domains. I could customize those workload domains to be able to optimize it for specific types of workloads. If I have traditional database applications I'm running on it, I could stand up workload domains that support that. If I want to bring AI into it, I can essentially supercharge those workload domains with GPUs and have the ability to do that. Containers is the same way. I can bring containers in as a first-class citizen within a VMware environment and provide the ability to be able to scale those services for production-type deployments.
When you change the way work gets done in an organization and the way work flows through an organization, oftentimes priorities shift. Are you seeing customers changing their priorities as when they have these capabilities?
Yeah, no, great question. And when we look at it, we look at technology as being only one piece of the puzzle. You have to look at the people and the process that get associated with that as well. If you ignore that, the technology doesn't matter. So when we look at adopting new technologies in there, we try to think about what does it take for somebody to consume it, to deploy it, at scale, because then they're getting value from it. And so where we're focused, and this is a big, Paul, back to your point, this was a big emphasis within 9.0, what can we do to be able to essentially accelerate that time to value? Because the faster they can get to value, now they want to start consuming those cores and applying additional services to it. So by providing the ability to be able to deploy this at scale, it now gives us the ability to be able to do so and help our customers get to that value quicker.
All right, Rick, I want to pick up our conversation where we ended it last night, right? We were talking about how modernization was happening. We're talking about people moving to the public cloud, right? In our research, what we found is there's a lot of workloads that are moving to the public cloud, right? We found that 46% of workloads are moving to the public cloud. But what we're really finding is interesting. Only 11% of organizations were developing cloud native applications on-prem, okay? but yet, what we found in the next 2 years, that number jumps to over 33%.
Exactly.
Right, and so there's repatriation coming back from the public cloud, on-prem.
Yep.
Right, so the value proposition of having the private clouds and having the on-prem activities is really starting to resonate, right?
Well, it is, but I'll clear up one misnomer.
Okay.
A lot of times when people think private cloud, they think on-prem, and on-prem only.
Right.
The way we look at it is that private cloud is an operating model, right? How do I deploy systems? How do I engage the people and the process and the tools as a way to be able to do that? So I can deploy a private cloud on-prem, because most of our customers have, but I can also take that and extend it to an edge site. I can also take that and extend it to a CSP, or a sovereign cloud, or a hyperscaler, and essentially provide the exact same experience. Because think about it, from a developer standpoint, when I'm logging in, when I'm checking in code, I shouldn't care whether it's running on-prem in a data center, at an edge, or in a hyperscaler. It should be the same exact experience, and that's exactly what we've done.
I think a few years ago when we had this conversation, I was talking about hybrid cloud and public cloud and private cloud, and I said, and I made the comment, I said, not to be like clairvoyant and like kind of look into the future and think about what's happening, but I was thinking we're going to lose every word in front of cloud, and it's just going to be cloud. Right, and it's just going to be, because it doesn't matter. Locations really are not going to matter.
Exactly.
Actually, we're seeing that in the same research that 20% of organizations are saying that their application portability is critical. 67% say it's very important to them.
Yep.
And that is because moving the application, I'm not saying moving the workload, but moving the application around is important.
Well, and think about this too, is that, let's say I make an investment on-prem, right? I can buy VCF on-prem, I have all these license entitlements, I use it. I also have the ability to essentially repurpose those licenses in a cloud.
Right.
I can essentially take the same license that I'm using on-prem, I can now essentially reapply those cores in a cloud provider, whether it be a CSP, a sovereign cloud, or a hyperscaler, and now I have full portability of not only the workloads, but also of the license entitlements at the same time.
So Rick, you made an astute point earlier, and it's something we talk a lot about on the CUBE, that it's not just the technology, it's the people and the processes, and getting the buy-in in order to do that. Can you share a specific example of a company that's either been able to scale or innovate faster with this?
Can't name the company.
It's okay, you don't have to name names.
What's shifted is the fact that the conversations that we're having are now with the C-suite. Right? Whereas before we had to work with the admins and then get to their boss and then get to their boss's boss, we had to work up. By starting at that C-suite and providing a very clear business value proposition, it starts to now become where they're actually saying to their teams that they need to take a closer look at this. So by opening those doors and having the proof points that we have as a way to be able to do that, it really gives us a mechanism to be able to accelerate those deployments.
Yeah, so with that said, right, because you're moving the messaging up stack, right? It's not about the practitioner as much as it's more about the business value, which is really an expansion of where you were, not too long ago, right? So let's talk about some of the recent announcements, like at the event here today. There's partnerships with AMD, there's partnerships with Canonical. I'd love to hear more your perspective of those.
So a little bit of a different area, right? So if you think about the relationship with AMD, it's now to essentially be able to provide customers choice in terms of which GPU infrastructure they want to deploy as part of it. Obviously we've been working with NVIDIA for a long, long time as part of that. There's a lot of sunk investment into that, and we are absolutely seeing the return on that. But what customers have also asked for is choice. They want the ability to have choice in which GPUs they deploy. They want the ability to be able to deploy on CPUs as well. So these private AI services are not unique to a single GPU. We have the ability to go into a multi-accelerator environment and extend that out across multiple GPU formats.
Yeah, we had Paul Turner on. Paul was talking about the partnership, and he was kind of going down the same path. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. But specifically, now let's talk about Canonical, because Canonical is really that's really interesting to me, because it's really focused on that DevOps and that dev space. The impacts of the workloads on VCF 9, what does that mean?
Well, so think about it this way, right? We're essentially leveraging Ubuntu and the Canonical chiseled containers as a way to be able to essentially trim down those containers.
Okay.
And so by doing that, it's a smaller footprint, but at the same time, I am lowering my security exposure. Right now, I'm going into an environment where I'm now essentially just working with the essential components of it, leveraging all the work that they've done and the adoption that they've done, because it's a very ubiquitous solution, but now bringing it into a VCF environment. So we're really excited about that, and then going back to your question earlier about AI, this is actually going to help accelerate deployment of AI on our platform as well.
Cool.
So, when the acquisition was announced, there was some skepticism among customers too, and concerns about the costs and pricing, but as you can see by the numbers, the growth has been quite astronomical. What do you see as VMware's biggest growth opportunities in the years ahead?
Well, certainly AI. I see that as a huge growth opportunity to be able to, have a platform that supports AI applications at scale as part of that. And then you look at the ecosystem that gets built around that. We want to be able to support that ecosystem and across, as I mentioned, different accelerator technologies, be able to provide that level of choice as part of it. What I've noticed though, is that the tone of this show versus last show there was a lot of emotional response. Let's call it what it is, right? There was a lot of emotional response based on that.
That's a nice way to put it.
I think those users have now come past that point, and now they're trying to solve problems. I mean, the conversations we've had here on the show floor, the conversations I've had in one-on-one customer meetings fall around two areas. One is, we have put our money where our mouth is relative to innovation and delivering on capabilities on the roadmap.
Yep.
And the other thing that's kind of positive is that a lot of the capabilities that were delivered in 9.0 were things that we were hearing from our customers a year and a half, 2 years ago, in terms of what they needed to be successful in there. And it's gratifying to them to be able to see that now we've actually delivered upon those promises.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think you're spot on. Last year it was all licenses changes, the world's coming to an end. The reality of it is people have to look at their environment and understand that, at least the way I see it, is, VMware as a company had a whole bunch of different things. VMware as a product is streamlined and it reduces the complexity and it allows for the rapid innovation that you accelerate your roadmap, drive to those things. I've seen those results happen, that's awesome. The show is really amplifying that, so I do agree with you that it's more about the rubber hitting the road now.
Exactly.
I think the other key factor that people need to take into consideration, and you touched on this a little bit, it is people, process, and technology, right? There's an element of the emotional response. I'm going to remove VMware. It's like, but what about the learnings of the tech and all that? It's not about the technical stack, but the learning and the skill gaps and all the other things that go along with it. Skill gaps.
That's the big one, right? You think about over the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of admins that have grown up with vSphere and DRS and vMotion as their core tools. To take that away from them?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, and the number one thing I hear from CIOs is modernization. We need to modernize our environment.
Yep.
The two barriers, complexity and skill gap issues. Yep. You reduce those.
Right, exactly.
Right?
That's our intent.
That's your
mission.
intent.
So looking ahead to VMware Explore 2026,
wow.
What are you wanting to think, what do you want to be talking about next year at this time? In terms of where the roadmap is today and what you want out of the future?
Not only the roadmap, obviously the roadmap is important, right? And so to delivering on the commitments that we've made and some of the announcements we made here, that's very important. To me, what's more important is the ability to be able to look back and see how customers are now adopting and consuming the platform.
Yeah.
Because again, going back to it, that's where they get value. Because what we want to be able to make sure that as they reach the end of their period, right? The end of their subscription period, and they're looking at renewal, we want that renewal to be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And if indeed they're seeing value on the platform and they've adopted what they intended to adopt as part of that, it should be a no-brainer decision. And that's what we're going for.
Excellent. Well, a great note to end on, Rick. Thank you so much for coming on the show. A pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Rebecca Knight for Paul Nashawaty. Stay tuned for more of theCUBE's live coverage of VMware Explore. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise tech news and analysis.